trying out a live just to see how that will do. And the whole point of doing a live is to interact with the audience. So I am expecting something of you guys to leave some comments and so on. And so here we go. I made a video yesterday talking about the case against hookup culture, and I just want to go into a little bit more and just see what some people have to say about it. So this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that people shouldn't hook up if that's what they want to do. People can do whatever they want to do. However, we do have so many voices pushing for hookup culture that I find it refreshing for people to maybe say the downsides of it or what's not so good about it. And mostly it's women who are the ones that are not benefiting from it and who don't love it. Mostly men do benefit from it and like it and don't see a problem with it. And so I'm hoping that there'll be some women on here because I think the word has to get out to women that they don't have to participate in it and they may not like it, and there are good reasons that they may not like it. Good morning. This is cool, so I can see when you leave comments. Also, just a few things too about the comments is that I am able to block people who are rude. And so I do welcome people to disagree with me and have different opinions. That's all very welcome. Don't like it when people are belittling me or criticizing me or asking me personal questions. Anyway, that hardly ever happens anymore. So a book that really changed everything for me was this book, The Case Against Hookup Culture by Louise Perry. It changed everything for me because before this book came out, all I heard was, that hookups are great for women. And why wouldn't women want to hook up? I mean, women like sex too, right? And it's true. And hi, Monica. So, but I had struggled myself in the hookup culture. I was not a hookup person. After my divorce, I did go through some hookup culture myself. And it wasn't because I was keen to just fuck a bunch of guys. It was because I wanted to explore my sexuality, which I've been unable to do in my marriage. So I experience the downsides of it. I experience everything that she said in here about women not benefiting from it or not liking it. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So I want to adjust the camera a little bit. One moment, please. Okay, so when I tried hookup culture, this was in my 50s. I didn't know that guys could just have sex with me and leave me. I did not know that would happen. It was very shocking and it was very traumatizing for me. Even though I didn't want to date them, I didn't like when I had sex with a man and then he would never text me again. I thought it was very rude and it was very hurtful, and I was trying to figure out how to be okay with it. And that, I think when you try to figure out how to be okay with something, it's probably a good sign that you don't like that treatment. Okay, but that didn't occur to me then. I was really still judging myself for not being okay with things or trying to figure out how to be okay with things. I didn't know yet 10 years ago that if I was struggling to be happy about something that happened, that maybe I shouldn't be doing that thing because everyone was doing it. And I was trying to figure out how I could be powerfully hooking up, which meant being like emotionally in and then not caring if I ever saw the guy again. You know, kind of how guys were with me, because they'd be very affectionate with me, they'd be very passionate with me, they'd be so sweet to me, they'd want to please me, and then they would just disappear. Now I'm talking about young guys. I should have told you I was talking about young guys in their 20s. And don't judge me, okay? Because that's just what I was into at the time. And the older men didn't do that as much. Uh, yes, I can see why men like hookups. And please, I think that it's natural for men to like hookups. So please share. I'm not shaming anyone. We're just talking about our differences here. Yes, and please share what you like about hookups. Thank you, Cece. Yesterday, I was at dinner with some friends, and I was talking to them about like what I'm really passionate about, which is this topic. And they said, "Why don't you start a podcast? Why don't you do a YouTube live?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can do a YouTube live." So when I came home from dinner last night, I scheduled this for today. Hi, Vicky. So, so I decided I wanted to be able to be sexually intimate the way that the men were with me. Okay, that was my goal because I was very much on this personal development journey. I was having all the sex sober. I wasn't just inviting them right over. I would meet them for coffee with the intention of exploring my sexuality. It wasn't about trying to get one of these guys to like me. It was all about my own self-exploration. And I was trying to figure out how to be powerfully intimate and not care if the guy kind of discarded me more or less. And I couldn't figure out why I was emotionally with some of them. I was emotionally very distraught that they wouldn't get back to me. Not because I wanted to date them. I didn't. They were way too young and not had it together enough. But I still had this painful feeling in my heart. And after a couple of years of that, somehow it dawned on me, I don't know how, that maybe I'm not supposed to like that. Maybe I'm not supposed to like someone having sex with me and being really nice, because they're very nice when they're having sex with me. And then just like it seemed like a Jekyll and Hyde thing, just disappearing. Like maybe I'm not supposed to like that. And maybe it's a good thing I don't like that because it means that I'm emotionally healthy. So I'm not sure exactly how I came to that realization because I was also doing like a lot of work around trusting my emotions and, being feminine and feeling what was right for me. And that's when I reached that realization that that is just not for me. But it wasn't until this book came out that, and that's why I love these books written by women. That's why I want to speak on this topic because sometimes we can kind of know something isn't working, but we don't know why. And, this book and also uh, another book that I have around women's sexuality have really helped me a lot in kind of finding ownership of what I like. It's like, yes, she's speaking my language, and there's nothing wrong with me for not liking it because I think the cultural push is for women to be sexually like men, and birth control really made that possible. Excuse me. All right. Jared says, I myself am not built for hookups. It's hard to not turn into a people pleaser when you have a girl who has lots of problems that I can't even control. So I am assuming that means that um, when you're hooking up, you never know what kind of woman you get. And if you're an empathetic person, you want to like help her out or you feel responsible for her problems or something. Like, who am I inviting into my life here that I have to deal with? And not all men are into hookups. It's not true that all men like hookups. Some men don't like it at all for whatever reason. But when we're speaking, and some women love them. But when we're speaking in generalities, like if we have a bell curve, men are more likely to like them than women are. And they're more able to compartmentalize sex than women are, in general. So, my own experience, I need to clear my throat. Just a moment. So, there are a number of things I believed that I will share with you, and they might seem very silly or embarrassing, but maybe people can relate. Because I thought that men are like me, how they think about things, except they're men. And when it comes to sex, they're like me, except they're men. So I, as a woman, would have sex with a man that I like, that meets a lot of criteria. If you read my book, The Fuck List, you will see I had all these criteria for the guys I would hook up with, you know? And that didn't mean I wanted to date them, but they would have to be the kind of men that I would date or would have dated when I was younger. I wouldn't have sex with just anyone just because he had a penis, okay? And so, women, and this is what she says in this book, we will be selective in our sexual partners. And so, I would have sex with someone that I liked. I had to like him in some way and I had to respect him. And I thought men were the same way. So, when a man had sex with me, I thought he liked me. Now, a lot of guys, the guys are going to be laughing. The guys are going to be laughing at this. But I think the women will relate. Well, I'm having sex with him because I like him. Why he wouldn't have sex with me if he didn't like me? He must like me in some way. And when they're horny, they will. They're very attentive. They're very present. They listen to your every word, and they're very affectionate. Then I also thought, well, he's so affectionate with me. He must like me because I'm only affectionate with people that I like. But what I discovered is that men can have sex with women just that they find beautiful. It's nothing more to it. You just find her beautiful. And they're going to be affectionate during sex the way I would be affectionate to a puppy I was petting. Doesn't mean I want to see the puppy again. That's just how they are when they're sexual. I finally came up with a word for it. I called it the turtle. So that's like a guy who is very emotionally unavailable. And I think these unavailable, okay, I just thought of something. I think emotionally unavailable men love hookups and emotionally available men do not. I just came up with this and I really believe it. Because these emotionally unavailable men, they want the sensuality, they want the connection, they want the emotions of a woman. But they can't handle it all the time. So they have it during sex. And during sex, so they're like a turtle, right? That's what I call the turtle. So like they're in a shell, and that's a shell of vulnerability. Like there's no vulnerability or any intimacy. They come out during sex, they peek out their head, they're very emotional and sensual. And as soon as they ejaculate, they go back into their shell. And so as soon as they come, these are the guys, as soon as they come, they want to get up and leave. They want to get up and take a shower. They want to get up and go to work. They can't even sustain a little bit of a connection or conversation. They just have to get away. The intimacy makes them very uncomfortable. So I do think that the relationship-oriented men generally don't hook up. They would rather be in a relationship. I do have some men who've left comments on my channel about how much they love hookups, and there's some men who are very good at it. They get a lot of women because they like women and they're good with women and they have a way of getting women just from their personality. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're super good looking. And they're able to get a lot of women and they love hookups. But I'm going to say these guys are a little bit more on the avoidance side and less on the emotional availability side. Yeah, Inky Pink, that's a really great name. The turtle analogy, right? Yeah. Emotionally available men are the sensitive ones being empathetic and sensitive can be viewed as being weak. Um, I, yeah, it can. You know, the thing the thing is, okay, so I'm going to differentiate between being emotionally sensitive and empathetic from being a people pleaser, because we are emotional creatures, all of us, like we all have emotions. And I think people go through life more powerfully when they're aware of all their emotions. However, I think we have to kind of differentiate, like, what am I responsible for and what are you responsible for? And so some people, women or men who are people pleasers, usually take on the emotional responsibility for other people, or try to rescue other people, feel responsible for other people. And by not having a good boundary, and I don't know if that's what you're talking about. I'm just talking about that I don't think that, and being empathetic and sensitive is a bad thing. It's a good thing. However, it can be less helpful if for those people who don't have a good boundary, and then they take on the emotions of the other people and feel responsible for that. And then they lose their own sense of self. They end up becoming resentful, and then the partner usually they either attract a controlling partner or someone who will disrespect them. So it's kind of a boundary issue. Like, okay, well, I see that you're sad and that you have this problem. Um, like, say you're a man and you're empathetic and you see this woman and she's down and out and having all these problems, it kind of like, well, I'm sorry you're having these problems. What do you want to do about it? Like, you're not responsible for other people's emotions that you don't even really know. I think we all have to find our own boundaries. So getting back to the sex topic, um, okay, so Jeff, this is a little bit making me uncomfortable, these dreams about me, so I would prefer that you don't share that, making me a little uncomfortable. Kev Ree, I appreciate everything you do on this channel. Well, thank you. I didn't even know I would have anybody on here. I thought there would be nobody on here today. So that's good. Also, I guess you can leave like super stickers and stuff if you want. I do not even know how to turn that on. But if you want to do that, you can. Okay. So these also, when it comes to men being sensitive, let me just go off on that tangent a little bit, because I've read about this in books that men have written about how to be emotionally vulnerable with women, because they say, on the one hand, women tell us that they want us to be authentic and vulnerable and share our emotions, but then when we do, they disrespect us and they get turned off, and it's true. So the way to do it, the way that men have to share their emotions then with other men, because it is true that women will often see that as weakness. So what they recommend is, if you're a guy, like say you're worried about something at work, you can't come to your woman and be like, I'm so worried about this thing at work. They might fire me, then nobody will want me, and go into that thing, because it'll make her really uneasy. But if you were to say, things aren't going so well at work, so I'm going to look for another job. Or things aren't going so well at work, so this is what I'm going to do about it. What do you think about these ideas or these ideas? So you have to, in order to keep the sexual polarity, you can't, yeah, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, um, turning your sexual partner into too much of a emotional sounding board can reduce her sexual interest somehow. Oh, thank you for this. This is my first super sticker. Thank you so much, Cece. And I want to say, hopefully you're a woman, because I really like having more women on my channel. And I love that I got my first super sticker from a woman. It just goes to show that women can also pay for things. And that's for all the guys who say that women are gold diggers. Look at this. She paid a $10 super sticker. We're not all gold diggers. Never share your feelings or fears with your wife. Talk to a buddy or get a therapist. Well, You can share your feelings, and I don't know, some guys can Cece a woman, great. Some guys can maybe weigh in more on that. Maybe people who've been in relations who are in relationships can weigh in more on that, because we do want to hear how you feel about things. But often also what we want as women, we want to know that you have empathy for our feelings and that you can listen to our feelings. And that's often really good too. Yeah. KS, this is great. You can talk about your issue but not complain. Yes, that's a good point. Complaining or being a victim is a turn off to the polarity relationship. It makes a woman disrespect you if you complain or if you're a victim, because now you're a liability to me. It's hard to explain. It kind of goes to the guy who's a people pleaser. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here because this is just my experience, how I feel, and please other people weigh in, because a man, like to have a man is a bigger thing than I am, right? He's bigger. I'm only 5'3". Like a man is somehow bigger. He's stronger for sure. And so because he's bigger and stronger, he has to be he can't be a liability. He can't be a dead weight. He's bigger and stronger, so he has to play a bigger, stronger role. So if he comes to me, because I want to take care of things that are smaller than me, right? Like my kids or my pets or the plants. Like I don't want to take care of things that are bigger than me, that are stronger and bigger, because that's work. That's a liability, right? Like taking care of an elderly parent, that's a liability physically and emotionally that I'm willing to do, but I don't want to do that with a man. I don't want him to be a liability. And there's certain things that make a man a liability. Now, anything I have to do to take care of him emotionally, if he's a people pleaser, that means I'm emotionally responsible for his feelings because he can't handle his own. He's trying to please me. That's a huge liability. Unless you're with a controlling woman, she's going to like that. And then if he's complaining or he's a victim, now what am I supposed to do with this guy? He's this big guy and he's a victim. Like, how am I supposed to like it's energetically, it just feels like too much. But I think it's perfectly fine to say, I'm really frustrated at work. This is what happened. You gotta show that you can handle it. And that's why men always say that you ought to go to a men's group and discuss these things in the men's group. And the men who are in men's groups really swear by it. I have a friend who just joined the men's group from Connor Beaton. He has a YouTube channel called Man Talks. And I've interviewed the author of The Dead Bedroom Fix on my channel. He has a men's group called the DSO Fraternity, Dad Starting Over. And he talks about how they talk about things in there that other men understand. They can talk about their fears and their issues and their insecurities around other men. You want to bring that to other men so that you have a place where you're understood. That's what I think. Oh, Enki Peng, viele Grüße aus Deutschland übrigens. Oh, you're a woman too. That's so great. Wanted to care smaller things, not bigger things. She can relate to what I was saying about men. I was trying to figure out how to best explain that I don't, what makes a people pleaser or liability or so on, and it feels like this energetic weight. Like this person's supposed to protect and provide. He's bigger. That doesn't mean you can't cuddle him at night, right? And you can be the cuddler. It doesn't mean that at all. But yeah, um, I do not know what solipsism means. I would have to get a dictionary. So thank you, Jeff, for tracking your message. I do get the point of having a crush on someone on YouTube, because I watch certain guys on YouTube. I'm like, oh my God, he's so hot. And then I'll be like, I wonder what city he's in. So I go to the YouTube channel thing. I'm like, I can't even tell. And of course, they're always married. But so I kind of get that people could have a crush on me. But I think it's best to have that, like, oh, that's just a fantasy. That's not my real life. Because I have heard of people, I'm not saying that any of you are doing that, who develop crushes on like celebrities or somebody that they can never see. And that doesn't seem very healthy. It's better to redirect that energy into real life. Okay, in my opinion, people that are into hookup culture are mostly players. The problem is when a player lies to someone that is looking for a serious relationship and misleading that person into sex. Yeah, I agree. They're mostly players. This is a man saying that. Yeah, they're players. And some of them will lie. A lot of them will just tell you, I'm just looking for casual. Men need to find out if women see them as they see themselves, because those things are not the same. Yeah. Solipsa means the quality of being very self-centered or selfish. Oh, yeah. Are you saying that about me or about the hookup people? I'm not sure. Um, Yeah, the player. So we were talking, I was talking earlier about how the men are into hookup culture are mostly like emotionally unavailable and they're players. And they do get women, but my point is when I say against hookup culture, I bet that most of these women are not wanting the hookup. I think most of these women are really preferring a relationship with that man, but they're doing the hookup because that's the cool thing to do. That's what they should do. They think that will get the guy to like them. Maybe eventually it will lead to a relationship. Oh, you're saying that females in general are self-centered or selfish. Okay, now I'm going to push back on that because you're very respectful, so I'm not blocking you. But usually in my comments, I block people who say all men are crap, all women are crap, because it just isn't true. Oh, okay. I see what he's saying. That my description, I've never heard of Karitsa. My description of a man's of my ability to be empathetic to a man is very self-centered or selfish. Um, I do I just think that it ruins the sexual polarity. It's kind of like watching your guy poop. Like there's certain things that ruin the sexual polarity. Um, I think that women are very empathetic and listening to men. I have listened to men and I do listen to men. I'm listening to you right now. Um, but in a romantic relationship, I think it ruins the attraction. That's what men have described, and that's, you know, I would like to hear some other women weigh in. What is a way that a man bringing his what we were saying is that a man complaining or whining or being a victim is a huge turnoff. I don't think women should do it either, but that might be a turnoff to men as well. But it's hard to be attracted to a man who is just angry all the time or feeling like a victim all the time or complaining all the time. It's not, it's kind of a turnoff to be that kind of person who's complaining. Maybe I'm not explaining it well, but yeah, it's true. In a romantic relationship, it's not the best. I can't um, d- um okay. I often wonder if people would be so into hookups if there was no longer alcohol involved. As a sober guy, it just seems kind of weird. I wonder that myself. That's a good question. I have talked to people who do sober hookups. Maybe people fall into the role of people pleaser. Maybe they're oblivious that it's a road disaster paved with good intentions. That's exactly right. They don't know. They think that if I do what she wants, she's going to like me. That's what they think. They really believe that. And I talk to a lot of men and teach them about the downsides of being a people pleaser. It's not good for the guy because he's doing what he's not being authentic. So he is going to become resentful and she won't respect him because she won't know who he is. Okay, let's see. Um, I guess that certain messages that they hold for review and then I can hide them. Another moderator just handled this. Okay. I'm not into hookup culture. I've experienced a very empty feeling when it happened as I was hoping for a relationship. That's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right. That's, I wonder if you've read this book or if you would like to read this book because that's what she says, that women are not, women we were told that we would benefit from hooking up, but we don't because deep down, most women do want monogamy. As she says, I'm going to read this one sentence. On average, men want casual sex more often than women do, and women want committed monogamy more often than men do. Hookup culture demands that women suppress their natural instincts in order to match male sexuality and thus meet the male demand for no strings sex. Some women are quite happy to do this, but most women find it unpleasant or even distressing. Thus, hookup culture is a solution to the sexuality mismatch that benefits some men at the expense of most women. Anki Pank, I once heard this sentence: a man is either a problem bringer or a problem solver. The latter one is, of course, serving the polarity, while the former one makes everything harder on a woman. Yes, exactly. That's what um, then she has to become the problem solver for him too. Men are usually better problem solvers than we women are, just my experience. Yeah, that's a good point because men do tend to be like more able to compartmentalize their emotions, and men are more likely to want to do, what do I need to do? And if I tell a guy, you got to lose some weight, you got a little belly on you, they love that. They love, oh my God, thank you for telling me. They love that straight talk, that authenticity. Um, yeah, so he needs to be a problem solver in the relationship. He can't be a complainer. But at the same time, a man does want to know that a woman cares about his feelings. So I would like to hear from some men in a way that you have found that you can share your feelings with your woman, something that you feel vulnerable about, in a way that is effective. The name of the book is The Case Against the Sexual Revolution by Louise Perry. Okay. And congratulations on going live. Thank you. There's a really good book about people pleasers. The main book on this is written by Dr. Robert Glover, and it's called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Because the guys who are nice, they're not nice, they're manipulative. Okay, because you got to be real to who you are. You've got to be real to who you are and not try to please the woman. Like yesterday, I was out with some friends and the guy was very masculine. He was right on point. I noticed that they were starting to they were starting to clean up. I'm like, oh, maybe we should go. So a guy who's a people pleaser would have been like, yeah, we should go. But he looked at his clock and he goes, 8:34. We got some time. We're going to stay till they close the place down. He just took charge like that. I loved it. And he did the same kind of thing in several other interactions, and he was closer to my age and he was dating my friend. And he had a really good frame. He knew exactly what he wanted. He knew how to take charge, and he didn't let like anyone run the show or take charge. A people pleaser would have totally gone and been like, oh yeah, we should go. That's what the people pleaser would do. Yeah, I got to please the woman because he doesn't know what he wants. And so men like that are not attractive to a feminine woman, which I consider myself to be a feminine woman. But people pleasers, I have a friend who's a people pleaser, and all of his past wives were controlling and criticizing him. And Dr. Robert Glover in his book also talks about how his first two marriages ended in divorce. He was such a people pleaser, and he thought, well, if I just do what the woman wants, she's going to like me. And it's manipulative, though. They're not purposely manipulative, but it is because you're not being yourself. And then it's just very unsettling. Like, I don't even know who you are or what you want. And now I'm responsible for this big person. I'm responsible for you. Now you're a liability. I don't want to be responsible for a man. I do not. That's just, whoa, that just feels like a lot of pressure. And then I can't feel any sexual attraction because I have to be in charge. I'm in charge. I have to be in charge. I got to tell him when we have to go, what we have to do. I got to make sure you know, he's so emotionally unhinged. I got to make sure he doesn't fall apart. Like, no, that's no good. But a lot of men were taught that's the way to be because maybe their parents did it, or, you know, I had a guy tell me the other day that how many messages do I have to send to these women before they go on a date? I said two. He goes, they want a lot of messaging. I'm like, don't put up with that. Do not put up with that. Or, okay, I have a really good story. My personal trainer, he is not a people pleaser, and he's going through this hookup phase. I wanted to do a YouTube interview with him, but he's been really busy, so hopefully we'll still do it at some point. So he's in his early 30s, and so he gets these really hot women. I've some of them have come into the gym, like they're pretty hot. Um, and he's been going through this hookup phase. And so there's this one woman, I don't know if it was the first date or the second date, that he wanted to go to coffee with her. And she made a big deal about it, like, well, men take me to dinner. I don't go to coffee, you know, and they were texting. And he said, well, I don't lead with my wallet. I was so proud of him. And then I don't know, they were texting, and then she goes, well, yeah, but I kind of have some trust issues. And he said, I don't date women with trust issues. Bye. And that's him holding his frame and not putting up with some bullshit just because she's hot. Because she's hot. She's used to having men wrapped around her finger, and she's used to these people pleaser guys who are like, oh my God, I better take her to dinner. Oh my God, you know, I better help her resolve her trust issues. I could heal her. I can help her. He's like, no, not putting up with that. Next. You know, so you have to be willing to say no. And that's what Dr. Robert Glover talks about in his book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, is that you have to be able to say no after the second date. He said all of his wives he should have never married. He was just unable to say no. And he was just like looking for their approval. You cannot look for your woman's approval. You know, it's not, you got to be your own person. Um, I also think that, I also think that, um, let's see, I'm not getting any more comments. I also think that women can't look for approval by having sex with a guy when they're not ready, because there's a lot of pressure. And I met a woman a few years ago. She was in her 50s, beautiful woman, getting a divorce. And she was really into this guy that I thought he was creepy. He was also, I think he was in his late 50s, early 60s. He was divorced, so they're not young people anymore. And he had convinced her that he's just a very sexual man and he needs sex. And she liked him. She was so into him. Oh my God, she talked about him nonstop at dinner, and she was having sex with him because she really wanted a relationship with him. But she was he was just playing her because all of their dates consisted of them having sex, sometimes in his car, because she was going through divorce. She was still living with her ex-husband. They had some kids. She was very fit, beautiful, well-dressed woman, very put together. And he was going through divorce, and or his kids were at home or something. He was divorced, but his kids were at home. So they were having, and they both had a lot of money. They were both well-to-do. They were having sex in his car. I'm like, what kind of man has sex in his car with the woman he's courting? He should get a hotel, or he needs to take her on dates. But she didn't see that. Okay, but get this. So at the time I was on Bumble, and the next day on Bumble, I match up with this guy who seems like her guy based on the occupation, which is kind of something unusual. So I started messaging with him, and I'm sending her all the screenshots as we're going along. And I said, but I don't know if I should see you. Are you single? Are you seeing anyone? Oh no, I'm not seeing anyone at all. And he completely denied he was seeing anyone. He wanted to get together with me and have a hookup with me and all that. He was very pushy. and his profile said, "I'm the most humble man you will ever meet." And then in one of his first messages, he told me how humble he is. The guy's just a total piece of POS. But she couldn't see that, and she was having sex with him, wanting a relationship, and he was just using her. He was just a big loser and a guy, stringing her along, not even being honest and saying, "I'm just looking for something casual." But I think that's the more typical thing. The guy being okay with the casual and the woman wanting a relationship. And we were designed that way. Another reason you guys might fall for people pleaser role is a fear of outcome or the unknown. So if you're a people pleaser, then you don't have to worry what's going to happen. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to attract a controlling woman or a woman who is going to disrespect you and dump you. That's what happened to me recently. I made a video about this. I met this gentleman on Bumble and we really hit it off. But after the second date, I still didn't want to kiss him. I just felt no attraction to him. And I realized he was a people pleaser. He was afraid to show any sexual interest or energy. He was withholding it because he thought it was a shameful thing. And we talked about it, and he said, he wasn't going to change for a woman. He'd learned in therapy that he wasn't going to change for a woman. And I think he'd been so much of a people pleaser. He's always tried to change for women, and he finally got to the point where he isn't going to. But I sent him about that book. Like, I cannot feel any sexual attraction to people pleasers. I can't. Maybe controlling women feel sexual attraction, but maybe they're just happy they can control them. I do not know. Sadly, it appears the dating apps have created an easier way for hookups. Yeah, although, like my friends I had dinner with yesterday, they met on a dating app. People can. Um, I think it's easy for men to go on there and look for hookups. And I know some younger women who are actually looking for a relationship, and then they start talking to a man, supposedly he wants a relationship too. And then, a few weeks into the conversation, he's like, "Can you just come over?" It's very disrespectful. And the problem with the hooking up right away is that it makes people not develop their other skills. Because say you're in a relationship, you're not going to have sex all the time. You might have sex 2% of the time that you're together. Do you even like this person? You know, what are you going to do with this person when you're not having sex? Like, do you have any other skill set? I worry sometimes myself if I go on a date, what am I going to talk about? Because on my YouTube channel, I talk about this stuff. What am I going to talk about with the real guy? Like, we need to get some practice, interacting with people that isn't just sex. Because it's easy to have sex, especially if there's no intimacy. You're afraid of intimacy. Those people can be sexual too. So I am going to close this in a couple minutes because I have plans with some friends to go out to lunch. And so I'm going to have to go in a couple minutes. Yeah, people can meet on dating apps. I have met people like that, but I think the majority of people are having a bad experience. And I think it's because the dating apps don't care about us as people and they don't care about our hearts. They allow catfishers on there. They allow people on there who are unvetted. Like we don't even have to upload a driver's license. Like I have a Just for Fans and I had to upload a driver's license to prove my age. Um, Even on some of I have some friends in the adult industry, and for their ads, they have to upload their driver's license to prove that they're of legal age, that they are who they say they are. And the dating app could do the same thing, but they don't do it because it would decrease the number of their members. There should be some kind of they should require a photo upload and they should require face verification photos done on the app. And they should also have people get people kicked off if they say they're looking for a relationship, but they approach women for a hookup. But they don't want to do that because it's not really a dating app. It's a let me get your money app. Okay, they just want to get your money. And I'm going to make a video next week about catfishing because a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman contacted me that someone was using my photos and catfished him on the dating app Zoosk. And he corresponded with this person for 7 months before he realized it was probably a scam. He contacted Zoosk and they're just like, oh, thank you for letting us know. They don't care. The dating apps do not care about you. And this man had his heart broken. People get their hearts broken over this stuff, and the dating apps do not care. That's okay. So I am going to have to sign off because I have to go. Um, this was so much fun, and I will do this again because it was successful and it was fun. Thank you so much for coming to my first live stream in a long time. And I hope you guys have a really good day. Oh, someone took my photos and used them for their profile too. Wow. Yeah, yeah. That's why I put a watermark on all my photos now. And that's why people need to be careful online. So we'll make a separate video about that. Thank you so much for coming to my first live stream and happy holidays. Bye.